All you need to understand to actually make money trading on Polymarket is, look, the newest class of internet millionaires has arrived, and they're not trading crypto, meme coins, stocks, or Forex. They're trading something new. They've discovered something called prediction markets, a place where anyone can go place a bet on the outcome of any event. And yes, I mean any event. Like, when will the US invade Venezuela? Will Jesus Christ return before 2027? Will 11 die in Stranger Things? I mean, this dude just made $932,000 betting against a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire. And now at this point, you might be thinking, isn't this just sports betting on steroids? And that's a fair initial reaction. But then you see billionaires like Ray Dalio becoming obsessed with prediction market, the CEO of Robinhood, the biggest stock trading app in the world, calling for a prediction market super cycle, President Trump's son on the board of Polymarket, the biggest prediction market in the world, all of your favorite trading influencers realizing that this is the next big thing. And you realize not only is there much more to this than betting on the next NBA champions, but that we might just be early to something massive. And in fact, after digging deeper, what I discovered is there's already a hidden underworld of early nerds and insiders using hidden edges to print money in these markets today, while the rest of the world just calls it gambling. No, like seriously, I found this dude named Doma on Twitter who tracked flight paths from Alaska to Ohio to predict that Sarah Palin would be elected VP, and made a bunch of money betting on it at 25-1 odds. But that was years ago though, and this month he's only made $162,567 this month predicting politics. Oh. There's even people treating these markets like bonds and slamming massive amount of money for a low risk couple percent per week. I could go on. And with Google searches for prediction markets at an all-time high, the whole world seems to be asking, how do we get in on the fun? So, I'm glad you clicked on this video, because today I'm gonna give you the full unfiltered A to Z beginner's guide on trading prediction markets. By the end of this video, we will have covered 1, what in the world prediction markets are and how they actually work. 2, how to get started and signed up on the best sites. 3, what the best tools are to use that nobody knows about yet. 4, how to actually find an edge in these markets. And all throughout, we're gonna be going over some more advanced tactics, tools, knowledge, and more, so you can leave this video prepared to dive in. Oh, and I'm even just gonna give you a list of good Twitter accounts to follow to continue learning about these markets as well. So if you've been wanting to learn about this stuff and you wanna see more videos like this, be sure you smash the like button on this video and press subscribe so I know to keep making this type of content. And if you want the fastest path to mastering these markets, I just created an entirely free prediction markets trading community. It's called Asymmetric, and this is where me and all the top experts in this space are going to be trading these markets, sharing picks, putting together all the best tools to use, streaming, and just masterminding live every day on how to make as much money as possible in prediction markets. We're the fastest growing prediction community in the world right now, and whenever you join, you're actually just gonna be put in a fully updated channel that's going to walk you through step by step all of the best exchanges, websites, and tools to get signed up on for completely free. It's gonna make learning this stuff 100 times easier than just watching this video. And for a limited time, we are charging $0 to get in. So if you wanna master these markets, my recommendation would be to pause this video, join the link below, come back, watch the entire video from start to finish, and then go hop into our community. With that said, let's get right into the meat of this video with our first and most important topic. What the hell are prediction markets? So you've probably seen advertisements for Polymarket right now, which is the largest prediction market in the world. But simply put, prediction markets are just online markets where anyone can bet on the outcome of any real world event. This can be simple stuff like who's gonna win a sports game. It can be the outcome of a presidential election. It can be the price of an asset like crypto or stocks at any given time. It can get much more complicated than that, but what you need to understand is effectively that if it exists, prediction markets will let you bet on it. And there's a few different main types of prediction markets, which I'll just show you right now. The first type of prediction market is called a binary prediction market, and that means that we can only bet on 2 outcomes. Will something happen? Yes or no. So here's an example one on the front page. I actually have a position open for yes right now that we're up 5% on. And this is whether the supreme leader of Iran will be out by June 30th. You can see there's actually a market for will he be out by January 30th, which has an 11% chance, March 31st, June 30th, etc. In a binary market like this, you can choose to buy one of 2 options. yes shares or no shares. Now, before this all gets too confusing, the main thing you need to understand in order to understand prediction markets is this line graph you see on screen right now, which is the percent probability that the outcome of yes of this man being ousted as supreme leader of Iran by June 30th has to occur based on votes on Polymarket. Now, what does that mean? Well, what is currently determining a 34% chance for yes to occur and a 67% chance for no to occur is literally people voting with their dollars. So put as simply as possible, people have bet $1.5 million of their money on either side of this bet, the yes or the no. 34% of that money has been put on yes, and 67% of that money has been put on no. This line moves in accordance with people placing more bets, and people place more bets on either side as it becomes more likely and more obvious that one of these scenarios will occur. So I placed a bet that yes, this will occur before June 30th at 31.8%. You can see here it says 31.8 cents. You can think of the cents or percentages as basically interchangeable. If yes goes to 100%, yes will resolve to $1. If no goes to 100%, it will resolve to $0. That's just how it's calculated. So if this ends up happening, people will vote this all the way to 100% for yes because they've seen it happen. And I will get roughly a 3x on my $1,300. I'll make a few $1,000. That's how binary markets work. However, another very popular type of market on Polymarket is something called multiple choice markets. This is where there are multiple different options, all of which have a different percentage chance to win. Now, what's important is that all of these always add up to 100% or $1, and you can see in real time how these lines move as people think that different outcomes are more likely. So in the past month, people have voted Marco Rubio from 4% likelihood to win the election all the way up to 7.5%. Something else you need to understand is that if you had bought yes for Marco Rubio here at 4%, you could go ahead and sell him now at just 8% for a 2x. And the reason why all these lines can move is because people can buy and sell shares of any of these options happening in real time and literally trade real world outcomes like stock markets. But to quickly summarize, the entire game of winning and making money in prediction markets is coming to conclusions before the world realizes and finding mispriced odds. And an example of that would be anyone who bet against Eleven, the main character of the Netflix show Stranger Things, dying the day before it came out. Polymarket had this price at a 65% likelihood to happen, which means that anybody who bet big on no here did super well. And I'll show you some examples later in this video of people making disgusting money in these markets. But before we get ahead of ourselves, most of you watching this video probably don't even have proper trading accounts set up for Polymarket. So let's talk about how to do that. Now again, guys, if you want to make this way easier, you can just join our free Discord community linked below this video, and it'll show you all the best tools to set up. But the main thing that we're going to have to do here is just set up an account on the most popular prediction market in the world, Polymarket. Now, if you're in the USA, I do think you need to have a VPN on to trade Polymarket on desktop. I would definitely recommend you just go sign up for NordVPN. It's like $3 a month. If you use the link below, they'll give you 4 months free, so it's literally like less than $3 a month. This is just a complete no-brainer. You've probably heard of Nord a million times. If you're on the internet at all, you should probably have a VPN installed anyway, just for privacy, security, and protecting you from malware. This is not even some like crazy ad. I literally just have had Nord on my computer for the last like 3 years straight. And then it's so easy. You just find a country and click connect. I always use Netherlands. I find that it's fastest being in the United States. You can choose whatever. And then you can just quickly set up an account on Polymarket. I left a link below to go sign up. You just go to the site, press sign up. You can continue with Google, use an email address. You can even connect a crypto wallet to sign in if you want, and you have one already installed on your browser. Then it's super easy to actually just deposit funds to start trading as well. You just click deposit in the top right. You can transfer crypto in, which is super easy if you have any form of crypto. You can basically deposit anything on any chain. They'll just give you a wallet to send it to. You can also just use any credit or debit card that you have. They have like a million different options. PayPal, it's super easy. And I'm not trying to tell you to deposit any particular amount of money, but obviously you have to have skin in the game to actually start learning this. So again, the VPN link and the Polymarket sign up link are both linked down below. If you pause it, it'll take you like 3 minutes to go do both of these things. But now that you have everything set up and deposited, let's start talking about the different types of markets that you can trade. So now I'm gonna go through and break down all of the most common types of betting markets here on Polymarket and how people are profitably trading each one with different strategies. We also have an individual channel for each one of these categories in our free Discord community where people are trading live together and discussing the best strategies. And again, this stuff changes all the time, so just joining is gonna be the easiest way to keep up with these markets. But first and foremost, the most well-known and probably most popular type of market here on Polymarket is going to be political markets. This is things like election winners, rate cuts by the Fed, wars breaking out, presidential nominees, bomb strikes. And these are very popular because there are many ways to actually get an edge in these markets, as well as tons of liquidity, meaning that traders can get actual size and make real money off of these things. For example, one of the most famous poker players and stats guys in the world, Nate Silver, runs this blog called Silver Bulletin, and back in 2016, he rose to fame and made people tons and tons and tons of money for saying that Trump actually could win the election whenever almost everyone else called it impossible. He did this using data, and he has now actually been hired by Polymarket. But a better example of how people are getting edges and making money in these politics prediction markets is something I tweeted about the other day. As you likely know, if you keep up with world news at all, the United States just invaded Venezuela, and as you can imagine, there was a Polymarket open for this on whether or not Maduro, their president, would be out of presidency by January 31st, 2026. And certain early traders were able to buy yes for him being out for a 1,400% return on their money by just being able to guess that this abduction was happening before it hit the news. How? Well, would you believe me if I told you the answer has to do with pizzas? Or more specifically, something called the Pentagon Pizza Index. This is a free tool that has been created. This allows us to track if there are abnormal spikes in the amount of pizzas being ordered around the Pentagon. So certain traders sat here, watched PizzaInt.watched, saw that there was a massive spike in pizza ordering at this time whenever tensions were rising around the United States and Venezuela. And look at this. This is insane. This is a tweet from January 3rd at 12:46 a.m. noticing that these pizza orders were spiking. Now go look at the Polymarket chart. At 1 a.m., this was still at 11%. And then look at the chart afterwards. So I'll talk more about this tool and a bunch of other tools later in this video, but this is a way of me showing you there's a very real and crazy and unconventional way to get an edge in a market like politics. You also have traders like Doma, who I mentioned earlier. We'll play a clip from this real fast.
We found the nearest airport, right? And we're tracking all the flights coming in. And one of the flights was coming in from Alaska. And we're like, what the? Because this was in Podunk, Ohio. And it's like, what the is a flight flying from Alaska to Podunk, Ohio? It's like, what is going on here? It's like, oh, hold on a second. The governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin. And we checked the odds, and I shit you not, she was at 25-1, and we were able to bet a couple $1,000 each. Not only did we make a ton of money, but I think we were also one of like the very first people in the world to know that he was going to pick Sarah Palin as his VP.
Explaining how they were able to win a bet at 25-1 odds for Sarah Palin becoming the VP all the way back in the McCain election by doing things like tracking flight paths from Alaska to Ohio. It's crazy stuff, guys. There's still a million ways to get an edge in these political markets because this stuff is so early and inefficient still. Now, another important category on Polymarket, which is related oftentimes to politics, is going to be something called mention markets. And these are markets literally about what people are going to say either on episodes of television or a podcast or on a live speech by Trump or, Jensen Huang during an NVIDIA keynote. And this is another really popular thing for speculators to bet on Polymarket. Now, this is an entire category of its own that certain sharp traders are making a ton of money on. You have traders like this guy, Prediction Market Trader, who have run up over $100,000 in profit in just 16 weeks trading these mention markets.
Looks like I'm behind.
Boom.
We were talking there we go. Damn, weird.
God, we cleaned up 1,000 on Trump.
And again, going over the individual strategies for each of these markets is going to take an entire video on its own. So let me know down below in the comments if you guys want more in-depth content about this. Of course, we're doing it in the Discord too. But there are multiple tools that you can use for this. I'll go over a bunch of tools later in this video. Mention Hub is a good one to use. So guys, you can go very in-depth on this. This is a page dedicated to whether Trump will say the word anniversary in his speech this week. It's going over transcripts, predicting likelihoods, but this is an entire world that you can dive into and one that some people are making a lot of money trade. This really is one of my favorite niches of prediction markets to trade because you got to watch this stuff live. It's electric. Anyway, third, a very popular type of prediction market is of course going to be sports. Now, Honestly, guys, like if your intention is just to come on here and like spam parlays and bet the over on the Bulls Pistons game, like you can just do that on DraftKings. But what's interesting about betting sports on a prediction market like Polymarket is this stuff is still so new that it is relatively inefficient. And sometimes the lines for betting sports on Polymarket will lag behind the lines on actual sports books, and you can arbitrage and take advantage of this stuff. Now, stay with me here. I'm not going to go too far into the weeds, but to summarize it in like 30 seconds, there are tools like OddsJam that will go and find the average odds, for example, for a Nuggets-Celtics basketball game later tonight across like all the popular sports books, DraftKings, Vegas, da-da-da. And sometimes because this Polymarket stuff is so new and so much lower liquidity, there will actually be a difference in the lines, i.e. the average sportsbook line might have Denver at 30% to win, but here on Polymarket it might be at 24%, which means that we can basically take advantage of free money doing something called plus EV betting over a long enough time frame. This again is an entire niche of its own, and this video won't be dedicated to that, although we do have people dedicated to doing this if you're into this stuff in the Discord. But the larger point that I'm trying to make is even sports betting can be more intelligent, and there is better ways to actually efficiently and reliably try and turn a profit than just going and slamming parlays on whatever, DraftKings. But a very important type of market that you actually do need to understand here on Polymarket is something that us traders have nicknamed bonds. Now, bonds are a nickname for a Polymarket that has extremely high likelihood of closing in one direction, like 99% chance. Oftentimes because the outcome has already basically happened or literally happened, but because people are emotional and illogical, it will only have been voted to like 99%. So here's a live example of a bond that is happening right now on Polymarket. Now, this is going to sound insane, but people are betting on how much Logan Paul's Pikachu Pokemon card that he's auctioning off right now is going to sell for. And when I say people, I mean almost $1 million worth of bets have been placed on whether or not it will be sold for more than $4 million. And as you can see, it is now at a 98% chance of occurring, which is probably because if we go look at the live auction, the current bid is at $2 million and it's been increasing quickly. There's still 40 days left on this thing. So the market has basically decided there's almost no way that this doesn't happen, which I think is pretty reasonable. But as you can see, there's still 2% to be had here. So what people who want to bet a bond like this would typically do is take a larger amount of capital of their bankroll, bet it on yes here, hoping to eke out a very low risk 2% yield. That's why they're nicknamed bonds, by the way, because in the real world, if you go buy treasury bonds, you can earn, low yield, very safe every single year, like 5-6%. And this is an interesting strategy for Polymarket betting because if we were to do some quick mental math and let's just say that you were able to get, 3% on your money per month, like you were able to get 1 or 2 bonds in per month, well, that would be 36% per year, which is pretty massive. And honestly, there are probably people that are eking out a few percents per week or even per day. But this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you that this is like some good risk-free way to earn yield on your money, because sometimes things can get very hairy. Let me show you another example using a show you've probably watched called Stranger Things. Now, in order to understand what happened here, you need to understand that every Polymarket has clearly defined rules. There was a whole Polymarket about what character people thought would die in the final episode of Stranger Things. And like I said, up until the last couple days, tons of people were voting all the way up to 65% that 11 was going to die because it was kind of implied. But every Polymarket has very specific rules that you need to read about what is going to define a yes or no, which here basically said that they had to actually be shown dead on screen. It has to be stated that it has occurred. There's a bunch of technicalities, okay? And basically what happened here is that although 11 was kind of like implied to have died in the show, it didn't technically qualify for a yes here on Polymarket, so a lot of people got caught off sides. But then the no got stuck at like 99.7, not all the way 100%, for a day or so. And all of a sudden you had all these whales coming in and betting like hundreds of thousands of dollars to make like a few $100 because everybody thought that it was like a sure shot. Okay, she's definitely going to be considered not dead by Polymarket. But what actually happened here is that although it was supposed to resolve to no, somebody actually voted to dispute this. Now, to explain this very simply, on Polymarket, in order for a market to fully resolve to yes or to no, somebody has to put in a decision that it goes to yes or no. But anybody in the world can also dispute that decision by putting up a bond or literally literally paying money in order to dispute it. And then once somebody disputes a Polymarket decision, it gets sent to a vote by a community called UMA. This is a community of people who hold a crypto token called UMA, which gives them voting rights to vote on whether or not a yes or no decision should be overturned. So what happened in this situation is that you had a bunch of whales betting that no was going to go to 100%, betting like 500 grand to win like $1,000. Then somebody disputed it. Then we had UMA voting on whether it might actually be resolved all the way down to 0% no or 100% yes. So then you have people going and chucking in like $100 on no, trying to make $100,000, and it gets very hairy and it gets very risky. And there was actually a chance that this could have gotten voted all the way in the other direction. I can make another whole video about how all this UMA stuff works, but the point I'm trying to make, guys, is there's no such thing as free money, and you do still need to be careful. You need to read the rules very carefully of any individual Polymarket and understand that this stuff can be put to a vote. Bonds are a fun opportunity, but there's no such thing as zero risk. But with that said, I want to go ahead and transition to another part of this video about how to actually begin getting an edge so that you can profitably trade these markets. And that's going to start with finding the best places to learn and find good trades to take. Now, quickly, guys, I know this stuff can be a lot, so be sure you subscribe to the channel, because I promise you, we are still early. And if you watch even just a few of these videos that I'm putting out on this topic, you can still be better than 99% of people at these markets and take massive advantage of them, like some of the other people and the traders that I've showed you in this video. But first and foremost, on the topic of how to actually get started trading these markets strategically, I want to go ahead and just flash on screen a short list of Twitter accounts that I would go follow in order to curate your social media feed into something that will actually constantly give you good alpha on these markets and make you a better trader. These are all people who are putting out good content on these markets consistently. I would recommend that you not only go follow all of them, but that you actually go and see who they are following, begin following those accounts as well, and in just a couple days, you can have built a following list of 20, 50, 100, 200 accounts that are all actually smart, sharp traders in these markets, and you'll start to learn a lot faster. Now, as far as the other best places to go and learn these markets, you have to understand, guys, that we are still super early. And even though this Polymarket stuff is exploding, for some reason, there's very few places dedicated to actually educating people on how to trade these markets, which is literally why I created our community Asymmetric, because I can use my network to do something that no one else can, which is actually assemble tons of the best, most intelligent, and most profitable Polymarket traders in one place, aggregate all the best tools, run live sessions all the time trading this stuff, and I can do that for free right now because all I care about doing is just assembling the biggest and best prediction market trading community in the entire world, because guys, this is the future. And it's not gonna be free forever, but it is for now, so be sure you go join. But something else that actually is going to help you become a much sharper and more profitable trader on Polymarket much faster is using the right tools. So now I wanna go over some tools that are definitely gonna help you on that journey that you should be using. The full list of these is gonna be in the Discord, guys, but the first one, again, is actually Pentagon Pizza Index. This is unironically a pretty crazy way to know whenever things in politics are heating up. So for example, I have a position open on the supreme leader of Iran being ousted from that country by June 30th, because we just saw the US do the same thing in Venezuela, and Trump has been talking about Iran. So I think this realistically could happen in the next 6 months. And if you're looking at lines like this, there's genuinely an opportunity to see, and I swear I'm not making this up because it's literally happened, see pizza orders spiking close to the Pentagon, and you'll see it across like all of them. They'll spike way bigger than this right now, and use that as confluence to go actually open a position in something like this. It's 2025, we're using pizza orders to bet on world leaders being kidnapped. Sorry, Mom. Maybe you should stay in school, kids. Now, another tool that I'm using right now is something called betmore.fund. The only thing that I'm really using this for is bonds, to literally just go find a list every single day of some of the best and highest volume bonds. If you're into betting this stuff, you can see there's a bunch of ones that are at 98%, 99%. Now, of course, like I'm not just blindly buying these. I click into this and see like how likely do I actually think it is that this resolves to 100%. But if you're into the idea of placing larger bets on events that seem extremely likely to happen, for maybe for a 4.5% return in 2 days if this ends up resolving to no, for a 1.5% return in 16 hours if this ends up resolving to no, or if you want to bet that there's no new Stranger Things episode that gets released by this Wednesday for 1.4% in 1 day, which I think this is probably a good bet to take. I don't think they're dropping a new episode. Betmore is a good place to find these bonds. Another tool that I think is pretty useful is called Polymarket. Now, I'm not actually using this to blindly copy trade anybody because I just think that's generally a horrible strategy for any form of trading, but I do find it useful for just tracking where the most profitable Polymarket traders in the world are putting their money. Now, I'm not specifically endorsing Copy Market. There's a bunch of different copy trading tools. This is something we're going to be diving into more in the community as well, figuring out an even better way to aggregate the best traders, but it is important to see where whales are putting their money. But speaking of data, another tool that I actually think is pretty useful is this one called Polysites that has a quote-unquote insider finder. Now, the idea behind this is that it's tracking big amounts of money being put into different Poly markets from fresh new wallets, with the idea that these might be insiders that know something before the rest of the world knows that we can tail. Right now, it's not like you can just go on here and follow every single bet that you see a quote-unquote insider placing, but there have been some absolute bangers found on this site. And guys, I'm not sponsored by these people. For example, there was a Polymarket on whether or not Mr. Beast would raise over $40 million for his clean water charity by August 31st. And very early on, whenever the odds of that were very low, somebody came and slammed $40,000 into yes on a fresh wallet, a large amount of money, insider. And then, lo and behold, this thing ended up resolving to 100%. So you can use this to find good trades sometimes. And guys, if you follow me on X, I'm retweeting new tools like every single day. These markets are still just so early that like there's literally brand new tools and crazy stuff dropping on like a daily basis, which is why we started the community. But those are a couple tools that I like. But so far in this video, guys, we have gone over what in the world prediction markets are, how to get properly set up to trade them, a bunch of different types of markets, and how people are making money in these markets. We've gone over a list of good accounts to follow to get started. I've showed you some accounts to follow to begin curating your Twitter feed to learn about this stuff. And most importantly, I've given you a completely free community to join if you want to continue learning about this stuff and ultimately make money trading these markets. So if you appreciate these videos, be sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm about to start dropping a bunch more of them. We're gonna be the biggest and the best in the world for this stuff, guys. So as always, I appreciate your time. I love you very much. Until next time, peace.